Welcome back, my happy crumpers, to another beautiful episode of Happy Crumper Wargaming. A lot of people have been talking about the MFM, or the Munitorium Field Manual, which is updating the points for the entire game. I am actually going to talk about some of the points, but I'm going to focus this video in a very different way. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to talk about what the heck this means. I will show you the point changes, but I'm not just going to be reading the points. I'm actually going to be talking about how this actually changes the list that you're building and how it's going to affect the meta as a whole. Now, one really important thing to understand and keep in mind here is that this essentially doesn't affect most people. And one other thing to get out of the way is this was a fantastic balance patch. The points shifting was really great overall. There were a few swings and misses, but overall, this is one of the better balance patches that GW has ever done with points. So I think we're actually sitting really, really pretty. So I'm just going to go through each individual each individual race and all their detachments. I mean, maybe not every detachment, but every single codex index. And I'm going to talk about what the changes were and what it actually means for you. And overall, if you are a top level player, this is super important to you. And if you are a medium level player, this is pretty important to you. And if you like to play for fun, this doesn't really matter very much. But I love having you with me, and I'm really excited to have you along for the journey. So let's just get started. Here we go. Okay, Sisters of Battle. This was a solid change to them. Arcos went up. Not as much as we expected. So I would say Sisters of Battle players, you're probably feeling really excited right now because you dodged a bullet. They did go up, but not nearly as much as we were expecting. Crusader and Death Cult slightly went up. And essentially all this means is that your massively MSU unit, or your massively MSU, minimum sized unit is what MSU stands for, army, is slightly less MSU now. Doesn't really matter. The Triumph went up in points. Now, when we couple this with her ability nerf that she got in the last data patch or data slate, this might mean the Triumph is no longer going to be making the cut for a lot of the top lists. So I would encourage you, I'm not saying that you should 100% get rid of the Triumph, but I would encourage you to think outside of the box and what you can get when you don't take the Triumph. Sacrosancts actually might be attractive now. They went down in points, and at 60 points, that's something I'm actually strongly considering. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take a lot. They're going to be showing up all over the meta. But just remember, guys, this is super early days. We don't really know how all this is going to shake up, but Sacrosancts actually do look attractive now. And then your Mortifiers and Penitent Engines getting a little bit of a points buff. You're going to be seeing them. You're probably going to be seeing them quite a bit. That doesn't mean that every army is going to be maximally spamming them, but it does become significantly more attractive, in my opinion, to do that. So Sisters of Battle, solid balance patch. They probably brought their power down by like 0.5%, which is probably pretty correct. And I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about this at all. So even Sisters of Battle players, if you're one of your units, Arcos went up, you can't be pissed about that because they should have gone up a lot more. So you should be excited that it only went up by what they did. Let's talk about the Custodes. Everyone was holding out hope. They were praying that the Custodes were going to get this massive, points, and that's what's going to save the army. They didn't, but we already knew this. So pour one out for your homies. Custodes are irrelevant right now. Remember, if you're playing at a lower level or you're just playing casually, Custodes are totally fine. You're going to be able to go play a game against anyone. But if you're trying to win a GT, you're probably not bringing Custodes right now. Essentially what happened is the Blade Champ and Trajan both saw a 10-point drop. Blade Champ seeing a 10-point drop, fair. Trajan seeing only 10-point drop is criminal. And Valerian saw a 5-point drop, which I thought that actually kind of bewildered me because Valerian's actually really good at 115. That's kind of cool. Then we saw the Contemptor Dread went down a good bit, which is completely irrelevant, and it makes zero difference at all. So pour one up for your homies. Custodes still suck, and they will suck until the next data slate. And remember, guys, the difference between an MFM and a data slate is MFM is points. That's what we got yesterday or today, depending on when this is being released. And the data slate is going to be where we get rules changes and stratagem changes and stuff like that. Okay, so Admech. This is fine. Admech players, honestly, this was fine. You get some points dropped to Call. Is he relevant? Probably not. You got some drops to Cataphan Destroyers. That's cool. Maybe they'll show up, but Breachers are still, the beast, the best. Then you got some drops to robots. Now, I will say there is a potential build where you go max robots in the data slate not data slate. Data Conclave or something. I forget the name of it. But anyone, the one that really buffs us, because you can get them to be really tough, -2 wound. You can get them with a Feel No Pain and with a 5-up and with an Invuln and an AOC. They actually get really, really tough. So that might actually be a robot build in there that could be interesting. Now, in all reality, does this really change the way Admech are going to be played? No. But also, Are Admech really screwed right now? No, they're really not. The problem with Admech, and here's the reality problem, and I'm going to get a lot of hate mail in the comments here. If you're an Admech player and you're complaining about Admech, chances are high, and this doesn't apply to every single person, but chances are high, the reason why you're complaining about Admech is because you don't want to play Admech the way Admech has to be played. Currently, Admech is built to be a control army. They're not supposed to go nuke you. They're not supposed to tank anything. They're meant to control the board and to control OC values, to control primary. And then they're supposed to have like 1 or 2 units that shoot above their weight class, which would generally be the breachers. And using things like their Cerberus Raiders and their Taraxi sterilizers or whatever, they're able to get into a lot of positions that you're not expecting them to get into, and they can cause havoc with move blocking and OC control throughout a bunch of their units. If you play them like that, you're going to be totally happy with the way Admech performs. But honestly, most of you probably just don't want Admech to play that way, which is why you're complaining about Admech strength. The reality is that's the way Admech play. And they can drop points to Kingdom Come, but that doesn't change the way Admech plays. So, I don't know. I play armies that I enjoy the way they play. I don't play Necrons because I don't like the way Necrons play, but I also don't have complaints about. I mean, I have some complaints about Necrons, but I don't really complain about Necrons. Maybe that's a little hard and callous, and if so, if I'm coming off hard and callous, my apologies. It's not really my intention, but I do want people to understand that when Admech is played the way Admech is meant to be played, just like if you look at my admin Shetel in the Discord. Run a game of Admech against him, you will cry because he's going to annihilate you with them. Admech actually have serious play, but that serious play is under the caveat that it has to be played the way Admech is meant to be played. Anyway, moving on. Eldar. Eldar got some nerfs. Did it work? Let's find out. Well, Fuegan went up, I think, by like 15 points. D-Cannons went up a little bit. Hawks went up a little bit. Shadow Specters all went up a little bit. And then, interestingly enough, and I actually really like this, we saw Banshees, Guardians, and Striking Scorpions go down. Shining Spears went down by like 20 points. So what I'm really interested to see is, are we going to see a little bit of a resurgence of more MSU combat meta? That would be really fascinating for me. And I'm actually really interested to see if it's actually going to work. I don't know that's what's going to occur, but it's something that I would immediately think of. And so I've got some Eldar players who I'm coaching, and we are definitely exploring those MSU combat builds right now. So Eldar, okay, cool, right on. Let's look at the agents of the Imperium. The Calidus went up by 10 points. Curia Draxus went up by 10 points. Inquisitorial Henchman went up by 10 points. We get it, GW. You hate Custodes. I understand. You don't want Custodes to be a thing anymore. Agents is relatively irrelevant. Of course, the Calidus should have gone up. She's incredible for what she does. So this is totally fine for the game. Imperial Guard. I am all about what happened to the Imperial Guard, okay? People are probably going to complain, say Imperial Guard's dead. You're dead. You are wrong. Imperial Guard is not dead. Imperial Guard is probably going to just be moving into a completely different build. That's going to be a lot more fun to play as and a lot more fun to play against. So Leman Russes, basically every variety, I think there was one variety didn't go down, but Leman Russes across the board went down in points. Scions are now 50 points for a 5-man squad. And if you saw my most recent video on the sickest combos part 2, I'll link it so that you guys can go check that out. There are some amazing combinations you can do with that because that's pretty sick. A 50-point unit that gets Deep Strike is powerful for maximizing secondary scores. Attilan Rough Riders went down. Now, Attilians are something that haven't been seeing play because for some ungodly reason, people just hate the mounted keyword. I don't get it. I love mounted. I have no problem with the mounted keyword. Yes, it's harder to move than infantry. And yes, it's a lot easier to move than vehicles. And there's no anti-mounted in the game. So I like the mounted keyword. I think it's a great keyword. And I think it's going to be really fun to see Attilan Rough Riders on the battlefield. Hellhounds also went down. I thought this was cool. And then on the other side, with the nerfs that we saw, Manicores got nerfed again. So they're up to 190 points. I love it because I hate indirect. I think indirect is very unhealthy for the game. It's super unfun to play as, super unfun to play against, and it creates crazy big swings. Because let's say you're playing guard and you're the indirect parking lot and you go second. You just automatically lose to any pressure melee army. And then let's say you're playing into the melee army and the melee army goes second. You just automatically win into them. I hate these automatic win, automatic loss scenarios that comes up with these crazy skew builds just based off of who goes first. And that's what the indirect really is. Now there's a lot more play because it's really not encouraging you to take indirect. That doesn't mean you won't take any. You probably will take some. But you're not going to be doing nothing but indirect anymore. And if you try to hold on to that and you complain that guard sucks, it's not guard that sucks. It's your list that sucks because you're trying to hold on to something that is now dead. So Manicores got nerfed. Bulgrin got a little bit nerfed, which is good because Bulgrin were very cheap. I think they are now pretty fair where they are, and I think you're definitely still seeing Bulgrin. Kashrkin got a little bit of points nerf. No big deal there. Kashyyykin were hitting above the weight class, and you kind of now get to benefit from the fact that Scions got so much cheaper, so you're probably going to be seeing the Scions. Then you're still going to see Kashyyykin, though, because they're still good. The Medusa, which is just basically another Mana Core, also got nerfed, and then the Basilisk got nerfed. You're probably always going to see at least one Basilisk just for the slow. It's really important to be able to slow things down. I wouldn't even be surprised if you still saw 2 Basilisk, and then a lot of the other indirect just kind of disappears. All right, Black Templars. These bad boys got nerfed. What does this mean for the meta? Well, this is one that I'm actually pretty excited for in the meta, because basically, when you looked at every single Space Marine detachment, all the winning list were Gladius, Ironstorm, whatever, also as Black Templars, because Black Templars were just so clearly superior. So essentially, all the Black Templar version of vehicles went up by 5 points, Sword Brethren went up by 10 points, and Crusaders went up by 10 points. This does not make Black Templars unusable at all, but it does actually make you think about maybe taking some other detachments or some other sub-faction Space Marines. How do I even say it now? Like, some unique chapters in your Space Marines, which I think is fan-freaking-tastic. Then, let's look at the Blood Angels. Now, Blood Angels actually hit a heavy nerf. This was really surprising to me, because we don't see their win rate that good. Their win rate's at like 51%. So I think what Games Workshop did is they probably just listened to a lot of the guys at StatCheck and some other things, and they said that these Death Company need massive nerfs. And I don't necessarily disagree, because I think Sons of Sanguinius was actually in a very good place. But as you'll understand when we get to the full Space Marines, I don't really think Blood Angels took nearly as bad a nerf as people are thinking they are. We're just going to need to shift our list a little bit. So essentially, Death Company Marines, Jump Pack Death Company Marines, Lamartes, and Sanguinary Priest all caught 10 points nerfs. This is fine. Like, Death Company are still amazing. You can still totally take them. Lamartes and his Jump Pack Death Company going up by a bunch is significant, because now that unit costs 30 points more. So that actually is fairly significant. You're going to have to decide whether you really want that unit or not. I don't really understand why the Sanguinary Priest went up, because we weren't seeing them outside of, like, my list. I think maybe there might have been a few others that we saw around, but it's pretty much my list was the one that was using Sang Priest. Other people weren't, but, it is fine. I'm still taking them, because at 100 points for a 5-up Thermal Pain and +1 AP on your unit, it's a done deal. Then on the buff side, Mephiston actually went down by 10 points, which makes basically no difference, because Mephiston more or less sucks. We did see a very interesting buff here. So with the Death Company Dreadnought going down by 20 points, this is something that really fascinates me, because that Death Company Dreadnought at 165, I've used him and I've had him do good things, but I just couldn't justify 165 for him. He's the guy, for those of you who don't know, who basically gets unlimited fight activations, because every time someone shoots him or someone hits him in melee, he gets to either shoot back or fight back based off of whether it's in shooting or in melee. So, like, there's a trick that you can do. I did it in my Sickest Combos Part 1 video, which you should also go watch, where you make a charge with them, you kill the thing you charge, you consolidate into something else. They are forced to hit you, which means you get to hit them back because of a special ability. And for those of you who are saying it doesn't work like this, you're wrong. It does work like this. So he has effectively unlimited fights so long as someone gets to punch him. Okay, then let's move on into Chaos Demons. What happened with Chaos Demons? Nothing! This was a little surprising to me, because Chaos Demons are struggling a little bit, but I'm not like, I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about this one. I wonder if, I don't know how to feel about this one. I was really hoping we would see some of the bigs come down in points just a little bit, because I think the Bloodthirsters and, like, Shalaxi, for example, are definitely overcosted. But yeah, nothing happened here. This might have been a little bit of a swing and a miss from Games Workshop. I think Chaos Demons needed a little bit of love and attention. Then Chaos Knights. Absolutely nothing happened to them. What does this change? Absolutely nothing, because Chaos Knights are basically totally fine right now. I think Games Workshop saw it. They saw that we don't need to do anything to Chaos Knights, and I believe they were correct. Then we look at Chaos Space Marines, and holy cow, Chaos Space Marines got some buffs. Now, do I think this is going to be enough to make Chaos Space Marines disgusting again? No. Do I think this is going to be enough to create some interesting Chaos Space Marine lists that can maybe do some really fascinating things? Yes. So effectively, Bikers went down by 10 points. Terminators down by 10 points. The Vindicator went down by 15 points. That's one we'll talk about again in a little bit, because Vindicators are good. Cultists down by 5. Cypher down by 15. Thank goodness. Cypher was so ridiculously overcosted for what he did. Havoc's down by 10. Hellbrute down by 10. And the Hellbrute was already one of the best models in the CSM range, so that's nice. You're probably certainly going to be bringing him. Both varieties of the Demon Prince down by 15. I don't really think or know if that actually matters, but I mean, it's cool, I guess. Your Legionary is down by 10. I still probably wouldn't take them, but that's cool. Mauler Fiend down by 15. We'll talk about that more when we get into World Eaters, but Mauler Fiend's actually kind of interesting. Possessed down by 10. I love that because one thing about Possessed in this edition is they are good, and no one recognizes that they're good, and they're all wrong, damn it. I want to see more Possessed because those guys are fast and they hit hard, and you can give them the leader. Oh, not the Infernal Master. That's two sons. It doesn't matter. They have a leader that you can give them that gives them a 6-up Feel No Pain, which really screws things up, skews damage. Then you have Raptors going down by 5. Very cool. Means that you can actually really think about Raptors. Perhaps a 10-man led by Harkon World Ender, which could be very, very cool. Then the Venom Crawler going down by 10. Interesting. I don't think we saw any Venom Crawlers. Perhaps we can fit them now. And then Khorne Berserkers down by 10. We'll talk about that more in World Eaters. Basically, when I see this, what I think I see Games Workshop going, okay, Chaos Space Marines are in a pretty bad position, and we're not sure how to balance them because their strats were unreasonable and some of their mechanisms are just so good. But they're also about to get a Codex. So let's do this. Let's give them points reductions on all the things that people aren't taking to see if people can have fun and enjoy some new builds that might be able to really boost the win rate. But we're not going to make massive changes to the things that we know are critical, simply because we have a new codex coming out very soon. So that's what I think GW would do, and I think it was the correct way to go. So for all of you Chaos Space Marine players out there, don't despair. Actually, these are cool. This gives you the ability to actually play with some really cool builds. I, for one, would 100% be running a 10-mana Possessed, especially with the... Oh, crap, it's not the Infernal Master. I don't know, it's something. The Master Possessions. It's the Master Possessions. I would absolutely be running those Possessed. Probably Marcus Slanesh so that I can get the advance and charge off on them. All right, let's talk about Dark Angels. They're basically still not relevant. They definitely got a better treatment than Custodes did. And for those of you saying that Custodes got the Dark Angel treatment, you're wrong. Dark Angels are playable. So Deathwing Knights down by 20 points. I don't really know if that's enough to make me want to take a lot of Deathwing Knights, but maybe Deathwing Knights are usable in their 5-mans now with that. Terminators down by 10 points. Terminators across the board for everyone went down by 10 points. Inner Circle Companions down by 15. This is cool. So now they're the same cost as Blade Guard, and I think they are significantly better than Blade Guard. So I could really see a unit of your Inner Circle Companions, perhaps led by Azrael. So they're getting the +1 to hit, they're getting -1 hit in melee, and then they're also going to be getting that 4-up invuln, because I think that's Azrael who gets it. Don't quote me on that. I could be a little bit wrong. But there's some really interesting combinations with Inner Circle Companions that I would be interested in exploring there. And then Lion L. Johnson, he went down by 50 points. So he's only at 300. He was 350. I still think he's too much, but it is a very good step. He's much more like a 250-point model. I know one of his auras can give some mortal wound protection, but he has no dead wound protection. I'm not sure how to fix him because he does hit like a freaking truck, but he's not the hardest thing to kill. And for 300 points, he needs to be tankier somehow. Weirdly enough, a 3-up invuln doesn't do it. So let's move on to the next one. Death Guard. Hellbrute got buffed by 10 points. Beautiful. I love it, GW. You did a great freaking job. All my Death Guard players are going to be pretty excited about this because Death Guard is in a great freaking place right now. Death Watch. Get wrecked, nerd. If you are playing Death Watch, you're not allowed to have fun. Games Workshop does not want to fix that detachment. I don't know, man. Maybe they're getting deleted. I hope not, because I actually really like playing Death Watch. But they're struggle bus right now. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. If you play Death Watch, God bless you. Moving on to Dark Eldar, nothing, no points, no nothing. This was totally fine because Dark Eldar, with their Sky Splinter, are actually in a really nice place. Their win rate is pretty much spot on. Their event win rate is pretty much spot on. They are a tricky army to play as and play against. If you understand how to play against them, there's plenty of counterplay. If you understand how to play with them, there's a lot of domination play you can do. So I really, really like where Dark Eldar are. And yeah, that's basically fine. Moving on to Gene Stealer Cults. The reason why I put this awesome Gat guy, the Keller Morph, down here is because I love him and he's amazing, but not in the game. He was my pride and joy from back in 9th edition. I was running 2 or 3 of them, and I absolutely adored them, but they are just the dodo bird now. Anyway, what were the points? Aberrants went down by 5 points. This was not enough. Aberrants probably needed to go down by 10, maybe even 15, and if we did that, I believe we would have seen the return of a Muscle Beach build. But with just a 5 points bust, I don't think it's enough to bring back the Muscle Beach. If you're not familiar with Muscle Beach, Muscle Beach was a build that we did in 9th edition where we took 3 10-man squads of Aberrants, and it was so much fun to play as, and honestly, I don't think it was that hard. It was pretty damn fun to play against as well. Ridge Runners, 10 points buff. Okay. Rock Grinder. This is actually a very big deal. 25 points buff to the Rock Grinder makes it quite interesting to me. And the Goliath Truck went down by 20 points too, which is good because those things were too freaking expensive. I would like to be able to see some transports in GSC actually moving their infantry around, not just relying on the ambush. So I'll be really interested to see how some GSC list will actually kind of adapt to these new changes. I think it's going to be quite cool to start seeing them actually in the transports instead of just in Cult Ambush. So we'll find out about it. I don't know if this was like a great change, but I do know it was a good change. I just don't know if it was quite good enough. Moving on, Imperial Grey Knights. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant Grey Knights. I just get confused by which army this is, simply because whenever I see Grey Knights now, it seems like they're just playing Imperial Knights. But anyway, they got some nerfs. Librarian went up by 10 points. This was weird. The Librarian had already gone up by 10 points. I don't understand the extra nerf. I just don't get it. I think that was excessive and unfortunate. Tech Marine went up by 10 points. I'm fine with that. He was pretty darn cheap for what he did. And then we have the Nemesis Dread Knight going up by 10 points. I think this is fair. Nemesis Dread Knights are insane now. And then we did get some buffs to the Inceptors, Purgation, Purifier, and Strike squads by going down by 5 points each. I think this might have been a little heavy-handed, to be honest with you. Really, the only nerf here that I kind of have a complaint of is the Librarian. Did it really deserve another 10-point nerf? I don't think it did. I think Games Workshop went a little excessive on that one, but it is what it is. Overall, Grey Knights are still going to be a great freaking position. If you're looking for a really good Grey Knights list, you should check out the conversation I had with Victor Bergenholtz, who is running 6 Nemesis Dread Knights and Canis Rex and Land Raider Redeemer. It is disgusting. You can go through my videos and find that out. That was a brutal list. So, I think that list basically still works, by the way. You can more or less just drop one of the Tech Marines and the same list is still fine. Anyway, talking about the actual Imperial Knights, no changes. I think this is probably fine, to be honest with you, because Imperial Knights are at a pretty good spot. Their win rates are looking pretty good. I don't know if they're winning tournaments, which is interesting to me. I really think the change that Imperial Knights need is they just need their bondsmen on their bigs. If they did that, they'd probably have to actually put the points up a little bit. But giving them more points buffs doesn't really make a big difference in their army. I think right now, if you can handle Imperial Knights, you can, and being cheaper wouldn't change that. So moving on, we have the Votan, the fake dwarves. Now, I get very passionately against the Votan, and here's why. Because you will never get me to admit that Gotrek and his ilk would ever approve of these nonsensical AI-worshipping dwarven folk. Because Gotrek is the freaking man, and Slayers are the freaking man. All of them. Even the women, they're all the man. And then Votan are not. Anyway, Uthar and Hearthcon Warriors got 10 points buffs. I think it effectively means nothing. Votan are in a relatively decent place. I'm not even really sure what I would do to balance them, because I think they're pretty darn balanced, to be honest with you. I'm sure I'll get some hate for saying that. Necrons. There are problems with the Necrons. As you can see, the Deceiver is very happy because he dodged the nerfs. Not that that matters at all. But essentially, Nightbringer went up by 40 points. That was an odd choice for him to go up by 40 points, seeing as he was a big Withmatic in it. Void Dragon went up by 20 points. That's probably pretty reasonable. The Transcendent only went up by 10 points. That's weird. I assumed he would have caught the 20, but you know what? He went up. And it was good that the Satan went up because they all needed to go up because they were too good. The thing that I disagree with is I don't think they were that darn good. The Nightbringer catching a 40-point nerf was very, very excessive. Just very, very, very excessive. Remember, these guys only moved 6 inches. The problem with the Satan wasn't their points values. The problem with the Satan is the fact that you can take them in Hypercrypt, and they can use the Hypercrypt special ability to jump around. That was the problem. Honestly, Games Workshop, if you pay any attention to what I say, which you probably don't, but if you do, because you know I'm a fan of yours, even though I think you were very unprofessional and screwed up the Custodes, I'm allowed to criticize you, even though I love and support you. What happens with Necrons is the Satan, just balance them this way. In Hypercrypt, or you know what, actually in every single detachment, just take away Satan's ability to benefit from the detachment. They're not allowed to use the detachment rules. Done. Send them back to 9th edition with that, and then you don't even need to worry about points, because then they're just a solidly good unit that your opponent has to worry about, but they don't get OP because they can't start using uppy downy abilities and stuff. Anyway, moving on. Immortals caught a 5-point nerf. Chronomancers, 15-point. Plasmancers, 10-point. Technomancers, 25-point nerfs, and the Monolith, a 25-point nerf. What does this actually do? It probably makes Hypercrypt less good and does literally nothing else. So, yeah, I think you guys did a swing and a miss. These look like very aggressive nerfs, but they're really not, because it doesn't touch the problem with Necrons. And the problem with Necrons is the freaking Wraith bricks in Canoptic Court. Now, I don't know how much Josh Roberts had to say about this, but Josh Roberts has been tearing up the meta right now by going 5-0, 5-0, 6-0, 5-0. He has won 5 super majors in the last several months with a Canoptic Court list that took 0 Satans. The reason why that's a problem is because that list is disgusting, because the rates are almost impossible to kill to pretty much any solo unit in the game. You're going to always have to combine things, and that can cause issues when they get the reactive movement, etc. So I don't think they nerfed the correct things, although I do applaud them for trying. Now, they did get a few buffs as well, and I actually like these buffs because I think these are buffs that Necrons also needed. So the Catacomb Command Barge went down by 20 points. I kind of enjoy that. That's going to open up certain plays in maybe like the Awakened Dynasty where you're still taking a lot of Lich Guard. Death Mark's down by 5 points. It's a nice quality of life thing. Flayed One's down by 10 points. Pretty reasonable, because Flayed One's, they're infiltrators, they're good, but they're not like special or anything. So I think giving them 10 points on those is solid. Ophidian and Scorpec Destroyers down by 10 points. This is interesting. I'm not sure it's enough to actually make the Scorpecs, or I'm sorry, the Destroyers in general, significantly better. But I do like the idea of trying to bring in more of an aggressive melee, not just unkillable bricks, but actually killy bricks. So I think that's very cool. And then the Scorpec Lord went down by 20 points, and he can hang out with his Destroyer friends. All right, moving on. Orks. Grots and Gits. We looking pretty. Everyone is pretty happy with Orks. There are sadly some things that did not occur, but gotta be honest with you guys, Orks are gonna be a problem. So we did get some serious buffs. The Beast Boss went down by 20 points, back to his 80-point original slot. Triple Beast Boss is back. I am 100% running Triple Beast Boss in the Big Hunt. I'm gonna give one of them that big damage 3 upgrade. In Warhorde, I'm probably going back to a double Beast Boss. I'm probably certainly taking a single Beast Boss in Bully Boys. So essentially every detachment is going to be able to make use of Beast Bosses, and just going down by 20 points makes them very, very, very good choices. Now, the Beast Boss on Squigosaur went down by 35 points. As well, he freaking should have, because he dramatically changed in the book. He's no longer T10. He's no longer a monster. He now is a leader for your Squighogs. He no longer has a 4-up Feel No Pain. So he got a lot worse. So he should have come down in points. I'm not taking him at 1. I might take 1 at 130, specifically in the Big Hunt, and basically nowhere else. Flash Gits went down by 15 points. This is awesome, because in all reality, I was lamenting, and I was really, really concerned about where Flash Gits were going to be in the modern meta. Because with the loss of Badrock, I was just saying, cool, Flash Gits are gone. As a matter of fact, I may have been a naughty boy, and I had an extra box of Flash Gits that I was currently assembling that I may have returned, which I'm now regretting. So, because now I'm going to want those Flash Gits back. So Flash Gits, their role is changing. You're probably never going to take them in a brick of 10 ever again, because they do lose a ton of firepower without Badrock giving them the rerolls. But running at 80 points for Flash Gits, hear me out here. These guys now get in a truck with a 5-mana Knobs led by a War Boss. You let the Gits out, they shoot clear screen, they charge in, and they hit basically as hard, if not harder, than a unit of boys. And then at having a 4-up armor save, they are actually significantly tougher to kill than your normal boys, because you can put them 4-up in cover, etc. So they actually have a big role to play now at 80 points. So Flash Gits are actually really, really fascinating, but I will be taking them in 5-man, so I'm done with the 10-man bricks now. Met Guns down by got a 5-point buff. I think that's relatively irrelevant. There is a interesting little combo you can do. But if you want to hear more about my Orc thoughts, guys, we're going to be doing a live stream tomorrow, specifically doing a tier ranking of all the Ork units, and it's going to be a tactical tier list. It's going to be awesome. If you guys have liked our other ones, which went very viral, it gives a ton of information. It's really going to teach you guys how to use the Orks. So definitely tune in and bring your questions and hopefully super chats. Then we have Maz. Mazrog went down by 30 points. I think that's wholly irrelevant. Mazrog is now pretty bad in my opinion. He lost his T10. He's only T8 now. He lost his 4 Fiona Pain. It's now a 5 up Fiona Pain. I think he's pretty bad, to be honest. But that's okay. He might be usable by some people. And this is just an initial reaction, right? Maybe I'll play around with the list and I'll change my mind later. Knobs went down by 5 points. This is very necessary because if you don't know, in the Codex, the Knobs got nerfed. Their ability to be -1 to wound when they're led by a war boss got nerfed to only being -1 to wound if the strength of the attacking gun is higher than their toughness. That's actually a very significant nerf, so they needed to come down in points. They might actually need to come down 5 more, but this was a good look for GW. And then the points nerfs in the Codex, the Big Mech and Mega Armor went up by 15 points. Now, this is probably a good idea because Big Mechs and Mega Armor were leading Mega Knobs. And Mega Knobs, if you don't know, are busted good right now. So the Big Mech was going to be resurrecting them. So I think they're just trying to encourage you not to take a full SKU list of 3 units of Mega Knobs led by Big Mechs and Mega Armor that are, so they're always going to have a Fort Fiona Pain. They're always going to be resurrected. They're always going to have a Fort, and I think that's what they were planning. The Shock Jump Dragster went up by 5 points, which is freaking hilarious. There's zero reason to do that. It's a garbage unit that can't be used. The one use case you could argue for it is that it can, teleport around, and in Cult of Speed specifically, it can teleport around and do actions. Don't talk to me about its shock rifle that's going to be assassinating characters. It's not. It's a garbage weapon, and it can only be used after a teleport in Cult of Speed because it does count as an advance. Anyone who says it does count as an advance, you're incorrect. I love you, and I understand that you want your thing to work, but it doesn't work. It does work in Cult of Speed, though, because in Cult of Speed, they do get advance, and they do get the ability to advance and still shoot. And then your Squighog Boys got a 35 points nerf. This is huge, and it's awful. Squighog Boys are largely irrelevant now. It's really, really sad. I've played a few games with the new detachments now, and I got to be honest with you, losing the +1 to hit by being led by the Knob matters. It matters a lot. It's a very big deal. They don't do anywhere near what they used to do, and yeah, that sucks. So I don't think you're going to be seeing many Squighog Boys anymore, to be honest with you. Especially not at this price. They're very, very expensive. And it is worth noting that is 35 points, but you also get a 4th model as well. So it's like, how big a nerf is it? Yeah, I do think it's a reasonable nerf, and I would not be taking Squighog Boys right now. Anyway, moving on. This is Space Marines, and this is one of the things I really desperately wanted to talk about, and we are closing on the end of the video here now, guys. So just bear with me. Space Marines got some really interesting changes. That's going to change a lot of your individual non-compliant, non-codex compliant, or whatever divergent chapters. So Blood Angels, for example, got hit hard on the Martes and all the Death Company. However, our Assault Intercessors with jump packs went down by 5 points each. That's a very big deal for my list in particular, because I was running 2 big bricks of those. And then if we go all the way down to the bottom, that Vindicator went down by 15 points. The Vindicator, which I'm running in my list, is awesome. At 190, I'm taking it. At 175, I'm like, holy crap, can I get another? I probably won't get another, but at 175, oh my gosh. If you don't have a Vindicator and you need a freaking Vindicator, the thing is good, and it is going to change matchups for you. Other than that, we got a few other quality of life improvements. That Brutalis Dreadnought going down by 15 is really fascinating. Can we actually see that being taken now? Perhaps something in like Stormlance where you can give it the advance and charge as well. That's very fascinating to me. Or, Gladius for the 1-turn advance charge. The Brutalis is actually looking a lot more pretty at 160. Hellblaster Squad going down by 10 points. I absolutely adore this. It really does make me think of putting the Hellblaster Squad with the Lieutenant with your fire discipline. It really does make me think that might be something that I really want to play with. You can also attach the Apothecary to be resurrecting them. So I do like the Hellblasters going down quite a bit. Incursors get 5 points. That's nice. Tactical Squad going down by 20 points is completely irrelevant. And Terminators going down by 10 points is also relatively irrelevant because Terminators just aren't good right now. Then we have Eliminators on the nerf side, went up by 10 points. I think that's totally fine. 75 points for a unit of 3 Eliminators was ludicrous. And then the Storm Raven Gunship also went up by 20 points. Totally fine. Storm Raven Gunship is a bananas model that shouldn't exist. It is absolutely ludicrous, so I think that's fine. But these points changes will really change quite a bit of compositions, and I'm really excited to see what people come up with it. So I love it. Space Marines GW did a great job. Tau, it's basically the same as the Codex. I mean, it's not the same as the Codex, because I certainly have not seen the Codex. What? Codex, huh? Beep bop, boop bop, beep. Anyway, I hate Tau, so I don't care. Moving on. Thousand Suns is much ado about nothing. They got a lot of points buffs for a bunch of things, like your Demon Prince with wings, your Hellbrute, Malarfiend, Vindicator, blah, 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 blah. It's largely irrelevant because none of these units will save you any points because you're not taking any of these units. Perhaps you can save 5 points on the Cultist, and perhaps you might actually be bringing the Demon Prince to give like the Aura of Stealth. I can't remember if that's the on foot or wings variety. That's something that you might do, so it could save you a few points. But on the flip side, we also saw the Lord of Forbidden Lord going up by 10 points, and the Arcane Vortex also going up by 10 points. One other quick thing I think I did gloss over with Space Marine, so I'm just going to go back to that. They actually did increase the cost of the goods enhancements for the Ironstorm detachment. So Ironstorm did catch a little bit of a nerf, especially when you combo the nerfs that Black Templars had. So that is going to change the Ironstorm list up quite a bit, which I am here for because that list was annoying. Then we're got 2 more guys, and then we're all finished. Tyranids. Man, we saw some weird discussion about this. Like, a lot of people were pissed off about the Tyranids, and I don't know why. You guys just get handed like a huge gift. Like, here you go. You get more things to play with. A lot of buffs. Barbed Gaunts went down by 5. Hiveguard went down by 10. Probably irrelevant, but at least it's nice. Lictor went down by 5. Now, Lictor's at 55 points is a freaking steal, and if you're not excited about it, you should be excited about it and you know, fix yourself. Psychophage going down by 30 points actually does make him relevant at 95. There are going to be some places where you can slot him in to give the whole army your 6-up Fiona Pain. That is actually quite cool. Swarm Lord went down by 30 points. I'm not sure if that makes him relevant, but it does certainly make you consider him a lot more. Melee Warriors went down by 10. I love this because Melee Warriors are quite good. I just wish they weren't on 50mm bases. Their bases are just ludicrous. Shooty Warriors went down by 5. I don't think that matters so much. Tyrant Guard down by 5, and Zoanthropes down by 10. Zoanthropes becoming spicy again, especially in an invasion. Then lastly, your Gargoyles got nerfed by 5 points, and this is what people are raging about. They're like, oh, Gargoyles are only a good thing, or they went up by 5 points. Yeah, but the rest of your army might have just dropped 100, so chill out. And then lastly, let's move on into the World Eaters. World Eaters! You guys should be thrilled. World Eaters got an awesome balance patch, and a lot of people are not understanding like just how awesome it is. If you look at like, if you are anyone outside of the top level of competition, basically what you were just given is you were given the ability to make that 2,015 point list that you couldn't make previously because it was 15 points over. The reductions here, the 10 points on Berserkers, the 5 points on the Jackals, really does make it so that you can fit that extra unit that you really wanted to fit, or it makes it that you can very easily get that enhancement that you wanted, or it makes it so that you could swap one unit for another unit. And that is a really big, powerful ability. World Eaters were already at a relatively like 50-ish% level, and they were still winning some tournaments. You guys should be happy because World Eaters are going to be in a good place. You can now make some of those lists that weren't really available for. Mauler Fiends at 140. Guys, I'm telling you, people are arguing with me. Mauler Fiends at 140 are worth looking at. Does that mean that they're going to be the best thing ever to take? I'm not making that claim, no. But at 140, a Mauler Fiend is solid. People are saying, oh, but you can't even move it. It's a vehicle. It's like, all right, listen. Other vehicles in the game are good, and you can still move them, and they're also vehicles. A Mauler Fiend, however, in World Eaters, you can get that thing guaranteed going 18 inches in a turn and charging. That's pretty damn solid. Excuse me, I cursed. Anyway, Mauler Fiends are definitely worth looking at, and I'm really excited to see some of the list things that we can make with the World Eaters. So guys, this was it. Basically, overall, what you need to understand about this MFM and all the balance status lights, etc. that Games Workshop does. With this one in particular, though, this was good. GW did a good job here. I'm still pissed off about the unprofessional hot piece of garbage that is the Custodes, but you know what? I can let that go because Games Workshop will be fixing it in the data slate where they get to fix like rules and abilities and stuff. So for right now, way to go balance team. I think the balance team is now led by Josh Roberts, if I'm not mistaken. And man, this was great work. I think all these points adjustments were brilliant, and it's going to lead to some really interesting and cool things coming up in the meta. So please leave a like and a subscription and share with your friends if you like my takes, or even if you hate my takes. Comments down below. I will argue with you in the comments. So if you're a keyboard warrior and you want to fight with me, I will fight with you, and that is totally fine. And I'll still love you even if I disagree with you. And until next time, everyone, this is Happy Corporate Wargaming. I am out.